You can't just not believe in a trans kid. Every single time Blaire puts a child on the internet, she gets paid. So who's exploiting who? Well, what's up, rebels? My name's Willy. I am one half of Leo and Willy. We are engaged, we are queer. And today I am here to react to the leader of the circus herself. We are going for the top clown, Miss Blaire. Blaire's gonna watch this and say, I'm just glad I got this big bitch moving. If you're new here, hello, thank you for joining the family. And if you don't know who Blaire White is a right-wing leaning LGBTQ content creator. She is known for, I was gonna say like doing content on trans kids, but I think when you put trans in front of it, it becomes political, right? Trans kids and trans people in general's life shouldn't be political, so let's not even afford her that labor. Let's just say Blaire White is someone who produces a lot of content on kids. Speaking of predators, some people have a cult following with Blaire because she has been known to speak out against predators. They blindly follow her allegiance, and it's interesting, I think, on that, you know, it's always good when someone does work that stops children being in harm. That's always the goal. But I also think if you are someone who regularly refers to people as predators and pedophiles, and you use that language just as much times as you say hello, yeah, at some point you're probably going to be right. So is she good at calling them out, or did she just get lucky? I don't know. Let's find out. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, let's get into this. I'm actually really excited. Sorry, I'm moving around a lot because it's freaking uncomfortable. There's something underneath me. Oh, would you look at that? A cheeky plug. If you haven't already, check out our deep dives. We've got deep dives out on Ariel Scarskella, Blaire White, Book Angel, Marcus Dibbs, aka The Offensive Twat Face, Calvin Garan. Our next one's out on RuPaul, so check that out and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Alright, let's actually get into it. Alright, let's actually do this.
My daughter Edie came out to me as trans 5 years ago, and 2 years later she socially transitioned to a girl.
My daughter
Hello, Edie. She's used quite a lot. I actually know Edie because of content creators like her, as opposed to... That's just interesting.
My own transition.
Oh my God.
And to have a transgender child has made me so much more interesting.
The reaction when people hear that we have 2 trans kids is pretty shock and awe. The odds that you
also recognize him. I think Marcus, the twat face, he did a video about that kid in his Melchizedek by proxy. Interesting. I've got a point to make, but you know what? Let me marinate this more and stop pausing.
The odds that you have 2 transgender children, 0.002%. But the chances of you being a narcissistic pig, 100. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my little winter wonderland in my house. Happy holidays, everybody. First of all, wait, Trump won. Merry Christmas. I am someone who has talked a lot about transgender children on this channel. It's probably the thing I'm the most hated and known for within the trans community. My opposition to the entire concept, really. I mean, to me, put that on the list of other fictitious and mythological creatures because it's just not a thing. What is a thing, though, is parents, right, making decisions for children. And I'm not going to go over, you know, all the reasons why transitioning children is not only nonsensical, to say the least, but also demented.
I guess I just don't understand the part of like the only thing that will validate a trans person is their 18th birthday. That makes no sense to me. I think, of course, some kids know who they are, and that's not every single kid. That's not to say some kids don't go back and forth like kids do. I do understand that kids do those things, but there's always going to be other kids who don't. Like, I think I've watched God knows how many times Noah Fintz has spoken about knowing who he was from since he was a child, being a young child, and just, you know, just absolutely knowing. To be fair, like, Noah looked like a little boy growing up. He had the short hair. He knew who he was, and he's still who he is. Like, Tooth Fairy, dickhead. You can't just not believe in a trans kid.
what I'm actually going to do today is focus on the parents.
This is Ari, Gwendolyn, and Brinifer. They are in a polyamorous relationship.
We have a 2-year-old antigender baby and a 10-year-old who is non-binary.
I think sometimes we get caught up in focusing a bit much on the child and the spectacle of the transgender child, and
I've also watched that. Oh, there's I promise you, I have a point when I'm saying these things. Just note that every single example so far that she has shown me, I've already seen. This one, like this family dynamic that they have, I'm not going to place any judgment on it because I don't know these people. One thing I can be sure of, that it isn't a social norm. I do know that it's very rare to see this family, and I don't understand. Like, it feels like a really weird hill to die on. I just don't see it as a hill to die on, because let's just say you found it an issue. It would still be such a miniature issue, you know, in the grand scheme of the fact that there are billions of people on this earth, and it's very rare you would come across a family like this. They are actually mostly amplified and introduced to people through your channel. Like, you are the reason we are seeing them. You are the reason we are learning about them. It's channels like this. And so I just find it interesting. I don't know if you're doing what you think you're doing, but with having over 1 million subscribers, you aren't removing an issue by highlighting it. All you're doing is, oh, there's more exposure there. Now everybody knows. Now maybe 1 million people know about this family that you seem to think isn't worth speaking about. It's just very counterintuitive. But that all goes down to the fact that this isn't really a viewpoint. It's finances, isn't it? You know what I mean? Let's get there. Also, just to say, I apologize. I probably should look up whether it's Sweden or Norway, but I do know that there is schools where they use a third pronoun, and it's hen, girl, boy, or hen. These are children, and hen is just, I don't feel like I'm either, and they're very much based and pushing this idea of non-gender play. Just saying, there are literal countries who do this, who find no issues with this, who have this within their school systems, like, just very naturally, to see a child and be like, this child's hen, cool, move on. So I just find it weird that, like, so it's just funny to me that you clearly don't have enough of a worldview to understand that this isn't actually that original. Cultures, countries have been doing it for decades, but go queen, do your thing.
Transhausen by proxy. Now, this is a term you may have seen.
If you haven't already, please go check out my video about fake mental health. This is ridiculous. I'm gonna let her talk about it, but it's ridiculous. It's not a thing. It is an online sort of coin term, but it's dangerous. Again, someone with such a huge platform putting this out. It's so dangerous. It's so dangerous.
Floating around social media. It's what people are using more and more to describe this phenomena of what seems to be the super demented offshoot of what we all know and recognize as Munchausen by proxy. Think of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Think of, the children who unfortunately go through their mothers forcing illness upon them for their own, well, because they're sick, right? Because the mothers themselves are sick. So think of this as that, but with a side of sex change.
He just now, a month ago, started hormone blockers. It's an implant. It is to prevent his puberty. It will prevent a menstruation cycle and breast development.
Do people ever wonder if you're too young to know if you're trans?
Yeah, and are they too young to know that they're cis?
I mean, it's demented. Focusing on the trans kids.
I feel like the kids serve. I hope the commentary on that wasn't just, it's demented, because there was a clear example of a kid actually serving back of, yeah, we know when we're cis, right? Like, I am around my trans partner and I am so cis. There's nothing he can do that would rub off on me and suddenly make me think I'm a dude, because I know I'm not. I don't really believe in the construct of gender because it is societal based, and I find it really weird when people try to pretend it isn't. Like, no, you wasn't brought out of the womb thinking this was blue and this was pink. Like, we have completely been conditioned that way. So for someone to just say, I don't subscribe to a societal thing, I think that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's man-made. I don't F with that. I have my own ideals. I have my own ideology. I have my own viewpoint. That's okay. I think it's really strange that her only feedback to this little kid, who, by the way, I've seen used in so many of these people's videos, is it's demented. Well, it's not demented. I think putting this information up in this video of this kid who's having a hormone blocker and then failing to mention that this hormone blocker is a temporary thing, it's not permanent, and it's completely reversible, things that happen on it can be reversible, I think that's dangerous. You are cutting and pasting and choosing what parts of the story to tell, but we know you're not stupid. Like, I have never once watched Blaire and thought, this girl is stupid. And so I know it's calculated choices that you are making to prevent people from learning more, which is so weird, because it's like, why? You know, why? I mean, money. It's all about the money, money, money. We don't need your money, money, money. We just want to make the world dance. Forget about the price tag. Forget about the cha-ching, cha-ching.
People aren't ready for this truth a lot of the times, but I say it anyways. It's also a white thing. It's a middle to upper class white thing. We don't talk about race a ton on this channel. Perhaps we should, but for
perhaps you should, Blaire. And when you do, I'll be there reacting.
For me, a lot of this trans child phenomenon, the non-binary phenomena, the everlasting, never-ending rainbow acronym, right, is in large part because white people have been so neutered spiritually by the media. They're not allowed to have an identity that is based around their race, like every other race, right? So they're looking for other things. They're looking to be, not the oppressive white woman that the media and that their politicians tell them they are. They're looking for an out. They're looking for a scapegoat. They're looking to say, no, I'm not actually a Karen. I'm not actually the racist white woman that the media says I am. I have a transgender child.
I find this so interesting because it's something that I have heard echoed in quite a few right-wing content creators that look like Blaire. And by that, I mean white women and, white passing people in general. I hear this a lot from people like Burke, Ariel, Blaire, and essentially what they're saying is white people don't feel like they can have a personality because being proud of the white race is deemed as so negative. And so in an act of boredom and desperation and longing to fit in and be interesting, they are pushing LGBTQ ideologies onto children. They are being over-accepting, or maybe they're coming out as queer things. Some people will say you're being non-binary just to be interesting, which is wild. It's such a wild concept. And I find it so interesting because the only people who say things like that look like her. Do you know what I mean? It's like, are you telling on yourself? Are you letting us know that your whole identity, your whole personality is just there to make yourself appear interesting? Because Blaire White, what are you if you aren't talking about children on the internet? Speaking of predators, me and Leo are thinking about potentially doing like some true crime stuff on another channel. So please do let us know if that might be interesting. I really want to do true crime. I've always wanted to do true crime and something I might do. So yeah, just let me know. But yeah, she's chatting absolute shite. Like, I think that's actually so savage as well to think that like, it's just a way to erase the fact that some people are who they say they are. It's like, no, you're not who you say you are. You're actually just white and boring. I'm taking away all this poetical language and just saying what she's saying. And it sounds shocking coming from my black face, right? But that's what she is also saying. You need to listen to the words because it will be disguised as protecting the children. And you'll be driven by that because who doesn't want to protect children? This message, this save the trans kids or save kids is a facade. It's there to encompass and pretty up the disgusting words that she's actually saying, which is some people are like this because they're white and boring, which is wild. That is wild. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I don't believe people don't modify their personalities to appear more interesting, like every human in life, I imagine. We develop, we change, we go through all these versions of ourselves. I just think it's such a shame that when it comes to identity, it's because someone's bored and white. It can't just be because someone is searching, or it can't just be that this lady who has absolutely said it's made me more interesting, which is freaking hilarious, right? It's clearly comical. I don't think this is like this huge belief system that she's willing to die on. I think she's making a joke, a ha ha he, you know, to lighten up the crowd. And she did a great job. And probably having a trans kid, maybe it did make her more interesting. Maybe it meant that she went to go read more books, see more people, open her world viewpoint. She ain't lying.
Narcissism. It's written all over her. This is about her. Where even is the child? And think about even further than just like on a personal level. I'm sure she's so much more interesting to all her, you know, affluent white liberal friends, right? She also gets to be on a podium and gets to be this celebrated political activist and gets to go and speak to crowds who are, you know, laughing about her saying it makes her interesting. This ain't about you, Deborah. And the reason we're reacting to these parents is because this...
Why shouldn't she be up on a podium? I imagine there are a lot of people out there who wish this was their parent. Like, oh my God, I would love to have someone so supportive that they're willing to go out there, speak on a podium. If this means that by proxy you become this activist and you become this beacon and you're also... This fly is a paid actor. If it means that through the acceptance of your kid, you go on to speak on podiums, you go on to elevate the voice, and that's great. It means that her work hasn't stopped inside her house. She's like, yeah, this is my kid. I love them. I accept them. And as well as this, I'm now going to move forward and continue to spread this message so other people have this acceptance. Every child deserves a parent/guardian who is willing to stand on a podium for them and go to bat for them and let the world know that they exist and they're proud of that existence. Like, you're trying to make this something it ain't. It's just a really sad, depressive lens to look through life in, I think, when you are actively looking for reasons to, I don't know, just like ick people's yums. Like, girl, go brunch, go live your life.
He's excited to be here. Marshall, do you want to do a week 4 on testosterone, boys?
Week 4, the same.
How are you feeling?
The same.
Any effects? Anything changing?
Not really.
Yeah. Any high points? Any good things?
Not really.
Okay. A few things stood out to me. As you can see, this is on the account called Sarah, which I'm assuming is not the young female trying to be a male here. So this is the mom's TikTok account. So getting clouts and click off your clearly, you know, I say this with love, obviously this is a baby. It's narcissism. That's a keyword you have to understand when you're looking at these mothers. It is always, maybe not say always, it is so often about them.
This is an interesting one. I feel like Blaire's conflating 2 issues here. So one is the issue she's trying to push, which is the parents supporting their kids transitioning. And then I think the other one is just the general issue with family channels, family vlogging, participation of children in those videos in general, which isn't a trans problem. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there are 2 things being conflated here, and I feel like when you are trying to make a point, which is about trans parents pushing these things on trans kids, I do understand that using media examples is a great example of that. It's like they're trying to use them for clout. There are so many family channels out there, right? Like, this has been a thing since forever, and I'm not saying this to validate them or to say I think they're great or bad, actually. I'm not making a point about family channels. In general, I'm just trying to state that they exist and they always have. And the issues with family channels and family vlogging and all those things have always existed. And that's a separate issue to gender exploration. They're not the same thing. I don't understand why they're getting conflated here. Yes, this is a very, very awkward video. One that personally I don't think should have ever gone on the internet because he doesn't seem comfortable. He seems like this isn't a vibe for him. But I could also find 1,000 other examples on family channels that are still up, that are raking in millions, that are similar to this, just private moments that kids don't want shared. And that's a separate issue in itself, is what I'm saying. I just don't think it's about his transition and how he views that versus him just having general discomfort of being filmed in his private moments. So don't conflate them two, because they're not the same thing, and they both raise separate issues. And of course that you're always going to find intersectionality, and they're going to be things that, you know, are in the middle of that Venn diagram, but ultimately they're separate issues. So like trying to shoehorn all these massive issues that surround family channels into this moment, which has probably existed longer than this kid's been alive, is ridiculous. It's a reach, and it's a dangerous way of doing commentary, because only ignorant minds will absorb it and not dissect it and go, wait, I get this problem, but this is also a separate issue, and they're not the same thing. What you doing here, yeah? Okay, y'all, so I have watched the rest of the video, truly, and it's basically the first half copied and pasted into the second half, and I imagine it's for the retention rate to get people watching more, you get more money, but I'm not going to do you guys like that because it's just not interesting. I'm going to give you my final thoughts, especially adhering to me saying, I've seen these kids before, and I've got a point, I've seen these kids before. I'll tell you my point. If this is such an epidemic, these parents transing their children, why do y'all keep recycling the same 5 kids? I know these kids. I've seen their faces from previous other content creators' videos, that your videos, Edie's been used so much. And the hypocrisy, the absolute hypocrisy of having this video here, because it's parents exposing these children's faces, and not once did you blur a kid. You know, you are a hypocrite. You are exploiting children as well. If you have an issue with children being on a platform, then why are you taking them out of their parents' probably 200 follower, maybe 200K? I'm not saying some of them ain't out there doing their bits. Like, some of them do legit have platforms, but the majority of people you're finding from the dark corners of the internet. And then you're coming with your big ass platform, 1 million, and then putting it for everyone to see. Who's exploiting the kids? Because you're getting paid for it. Every single time Blaire puts a child on the internet, she gets paid. So who's exploiting who? Anyways, I've had enough. I can't deal with it anymore. I love you. Good night. Thank you for watching. Good morning. Good evening. I don't know where you're from, but yeah, good morning, good evening. I love you. Drink water, eat fruits. Don't forget to subscribe.